What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Set Bet Spike, powered by FTN, right here on Game Plus Network. Chris Meaney and the Eric Young here with you for the next little bit. Going to recap last night's amazingness in the NFL and then look ahead to the rest of the week here. Week 5 officially underway with a Colts 12-9 win at Mile High last night. Has to be one of the worst sporting events I've ever watched in my entire life. Nothing happened. There were no touchdowns. Russell Wilson and the Broncos offense looked even worse than it has, all season. From start to finish, it looked awful. Matt Ryan was sacked a bunch, but credit to Matt Ryan at the end of the game for marching down the field and getting his team, field goal to force overtime and then doing the same thing to start overtime as well. So the Colts win 12-9. And here we are again talking about Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos UI. Another just awful showing from the offense.
Yeah, I mean, you want to keep defending Russell Wilson because he was such an exciting player at one point, but I feel like he's done, right? Like, I mean, it's been long enough. I feel like I've got him on a couple teams, unfortunately. That delicious Ryan Wilson and Cortland Sutton stack that I thought was going to be so lucrative. And I failed myself. And Russell Wilson failed me and failed the NFL. It failed the Denver Broncos, and it looks bad. And I can't tell if it's just him, if it's the coaching, if it's the offensive line. But what I know is nothing is going right. Like it is. It's awful. I think maybe if you picked up Mike Boone, you're pretty happy. But other than that, yeah. I'm moving on from Russell Wilson. I'm going after Geno Smith.
Geno could have made some of those throws last night, right? His former backup quarterback that he lost to in week 1.
What a world.
Geno's looked pretty good.
What a world.
From a fantasy standpoint. Yeah, I know. This is the world we're living in now. A couple things. I wasn't joking when I tweeted out a couple weeks ago after watching Russell Wilson and the Broncos in primetime Sunday Night Football against the 49ers when he looked awful in that game. And I said that I was going to start Trevor Lawrence moving forward over Russell Wilson. That has not changed. Yep. You're talking about Geno Smith. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of everything. It's a little bit of Nathaniel Hackett. I think it's a little bit of Russell Wilson, clearly. Not on the same page with his wide receivers. There were multiple times last night where he threw the ball and nobody was around him, whether that's on Cortland Sutton running the wrong route or somebody else running the wrong route, him thinking that they're going to run a certain route. Maybe he's off, wide receivers off. There's certainly the connection between him and his wide receivers are off. Then, I think about week 1 and how they weren't aggressive and they kicked that long field goal when you have Russell Wilson. And this is another thing. They paid $245 million for this guy for the next 8 years. This is just the beginning.
Brutal.
So you got a first-time head coach in Nathaniel Hackett. So week 1, he does the field goal thing. He plays conservative. Then yesterday, when they start to run the ball with Boone and Gordon and they're having success moving the ball up the field, they're milking the clock. It looks like they're just going to put away the game, kick a field goal at the end and go up by 6 points. And Matt Ryan and company couldn't do anything all game. Russell decides to throw it in the end zone to I don't even know who. Sutton twisted up something and he left and the backup comes in. I forget who it was. And Russell throws that pick in a situation where they just should have run the ball. It's unbelievable. They have the worst offense inside the red zone. I think they showed it last night. They're converting 30% heading into the game. And they made a bunch of trips in the red zone yesterday and still didn't come away with any touchdowns. And then I don't know if you saw KJ Hamler at the end of the game. So I still think Sutton is fine, by the way. If you've been hammering his receiving yard,
he was fine.
9 points last night, 5 for 74. He hit his receiving yard prop again. We all cashed. It was actually a pretty good day, at FTN. Perfect beside for calling touchdowns. Had Sutton catches, Sutton yards, Alec Pierce. We'll get into Pierce in a second before we move on. Did you see KJ Hamler? He was wide open in the end zone. And not only is he wide open, Russ misses him. The freak out that he had after the game was it was kind of telling for me because you have Russell and this leader who has won a Super Bowl and he's come over to this team and you paid him a bunch of money and there's this disconnect with the coaching staff and the offense is not rolling. For him, he just smashed his helmet down on the ground about 5 or 6 times in a row. And I thought that was just very telling for a guy in Russell who doesn't really say a whole lot, kind of walks into every game in practice with the shades on. Let's ride. He's all cool. Look at me, yada, yada. I think already through 5 weeks, he doesn't have the trust of any of his teammates. This is a big time issue.
How could they? Think about being that investor group that just bought the Broncos for billions of dollars. And this is the product they're getting. People early in the fourth quarter pouring out of the stadium, literally pouring like the game was over.
That's crazy.
If you've ever been to a football game, those tickets in the lower bowl, like you have to mortgage your house to get them. The price is insane. And if I'm a season ticket holder, I want a refund, man. This contract to Russell Wilson is going to set this franchise back 5 years. They're going to be brutal.
Brutal, man. That's really it from the Broncos side of things. Yeah. Other quarterbacks, guys, right? Sutton is fine. Roll him out. Judy, is a flex. You hope. I think Gordon had a strong game, but yeah, Boone should be rostered. He should be picked up. Maybe we're looking ahead of him as a flex. He seems like the handcuff. Latavius, I didn't expect to touch the field. He had just been signed from the practice squad. But yeah, it's a rough go in Denver. I don't know how things get too much better than that. I believe they're on primetime again here in a couple weeks.
Disgusting.
Okay. One thing I did want to say is Alec Pierce. Talked a lot about Alec Pierce before the season started. Alec Pierce, I think on the show, missed you on Tuesday. I mentioned him. I was in on his prop, his receiving yard prop. So a couple games now for Alec Pierce. So his first 2 games, he did nothing. He had 2 targets. Both of those targets, by the way, were inside the red zone. One was a bad drop by him. Other one was an awful throw by Ryan. He missed week 2 because of a concussion. And now the last 3 games, he has racked up 20 targets, 15 catches, and 222 yards. He was all over the field yesterday to a point where Surtain, who is the best corner the Broncos have in his sophomore season, moved away from Michael Pittman and went at Alec Pierce because it was just Pierce. Ryan has certainly built some trust with Alec Pierce here. Last night, 9 targets, 8 grabs, 81 yards, got 80 yards in back-to-back games, got at least 3 grabs. Last night in the bet tracker, we had plus 160 for 4 catches, and his receiving yard prop was 33.5. So keep an eye on Alec Pierce moving forward. His ownership is only 8% in Yahoo leagues. Again, one of my favorites. I'd have him in a bunch of spots because I believed in the talent for one. This is not just, it's a good couple games, let's pick him up. There's a real opportunity for him to be the number 2 option all year long. It's not Paris Campbell. It's Alec Pierce in 2 wide receiver sets. He's on the field. He looks good. He's the one guy in this offense that could actually stretch the field if they can establish a run game when Taylor comes back. And, I think Pierce will just involve more as a wide receiver in this offense. That's it. You know what next Thursday's game is? I think it's the Bears and the Commanders. Can't get any worse. One of those guys will score a touchdown, no?
I think so. I mean, dude, that game was unwatchable. It was just, I couldn't believe how bad it was. Let's move on. But we've got good football to talk about. It's enough time.
Giants and Packers. We could start with the Giants and Packers. The Giants are another team that's struggling offensively, but they found a way to reel off some wins. But this game is in London, so make sure your lineups and everything are set early the night before. Your picks are in because 9:30 in the morning can come at you fast, especially if you're over on the West Coast. This game will start really early for you. I saw something before I came on. Tyler won't like this. At the start of the season, it was one hamstring for Kadarius Toney. Now it's another hamstring for Kadarius Toney. I was telling people maybe to stash if you're in a really good spot, but this guy cannot stay on the field. I don't know who's catching passes for the Giants this week. It's probably just yeah, that didn't work out well for anybody who rostered him last week. What I will say is I think Green Bay finds a way to cover this time where they didn't last time in a game against the Pats. The Pats kind of hung around. 7.5. I expect Green Bay to probably win by 10. I like both running backs, A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones. Their rushing yard props are around 50, 55. I think both guys get into the 60s here. I like Romeo Doubs to continue to, have some success here with Aaron Rodgers. He seems to have Rodgers' trust as of late. The last couple of games have been really good for him. 8 targets, 5 grabs, 47 yards, and a touchdown. Against Tampa in week 3, 8 targets, 8 grabs, 73 yards, and a touchdown. So he's an interesting touchdown call. His catch prop is at 4.5. I got him in the bet tracker already at 44.5 receiving yards. And then I want to just mention Saquon, of course, not breaking any news here from Saquon, but his receiving yard prop is sitting at 22, 24. I think I have him at 24 maybe. I would take anything. I think he gets into like 30 receiving yards in this game. Like EY, there's no one else. He's going to touch the ball like 30 times in this game. And, through the first 4 weeks, last week wasn't a whole lot. They were up. They didn't need to really throw the ball to him. 2 targets, 2 grabs, 16 yards. But against Dallas, he had 4 catches for 45. Against the Titans in week 1, he had 6 catches for 30, and then he had 3 grabs in week 2. So, I mean, if game script Vegas is telling us Packers are going to roll here, defense is strong, I think we'll see a couple, maybe it's garbage time stuff. Maybe it's just a couple, check downs and screens to Saquon. So that's kind of where I'm at. Do you have anything else to add?
The only thing I'd add, if I'm going to, it is a dart throw, but Bellinger, the tight end,
good call,
he
Daniel,
seems to be the only guy that Daniel Jones trusts to throw the ball to. He's a rookie. Often we don't see tight end rookies do much, but he's been pretty involved in every game, as much as a rookie tight end can be. Look at the tight end is a wasteland, man. It's an absolute wasteland, and there's no one else to throw the ball to. I mean, I feel if anyone is going other than Barkley is going to score a touchdown, it's going to be Bellinger.
Good call. I like that, actually. I'm playing him in a deep dynasty league, and there hasn't been a whole lot, but you're right. When Daniel throws the ball, it seems to be to him. He's a red zone option, and they're going to have to throw the ball here this week. He's 6-1 over at FanDuel for anytime touchdown. BetMGM has him at 320. He's just 450. 6-1 for Daniel Bellinger is a pretty nice little dart throw there. Dobbs is sitting at 44.5 receiving yards. All right, so what else do we got here, Tyler? Let's go back to the schedule here. Steelers and Bills. So we're going to get Kenny Pickett. For the first time, he came in, he moved the ball, right? There was 3 picks. One was a Hail Mary at the end. One he kind of backpedaled, and there was I don't know. You could make the case that Pat Freiermuth should have came down with that ball. But nonetheless, his first couple quarters as an NFL starting quarterback showed us a lot more than Mitch Trubisky showed us through the first few weeks of the season. But they're in a really, really tough spot here, to go into Buffalo and to face this Bills team that can move the ball pretty easily. Your boy Josh Allen. We have a spread here at 14 for Buffalo. That's a lot of points. I'm not going to play that. I'm not putting any money on that 14 spread. If I had to choose a side, I may pick Pittsburgh here at plus 14 just to, that backdoor cover. That's a lot of points there. You could see some craziness happen, in Buffalo, and, maybe there's a pick, or the defense is still pretty good for the Steelers. Maybe they can force a turnover and you get like a late garbage time thing. But a couple things I'm looking for. Gabe Davis, I think he's a good buy low candidate. He's out there more than Diggs. He's running more routes. He's playing more snaps. It's just like a quiet couple games from him. And then also Kenny Pickett, and then George Pickens, rookie wide receiver out of Georgia. I think he got 4 targets last week when Kenny Pickett came in. So I'm looking at him to see if he can step up. And our guy, it's not even our guy, Deontay Johnson. We called him a bust heading in. I have some major concerns about Deontay moving forward. So I'm looking to see who the rookie quarterback will look to in his first full game in the NFL.
I mean, it looks like it's Pickens already, right? Like he's barely been on the field, and he's got 2 highlight reel catches. Once again, the Steelers, they know how to find wide receiver gold. I don't know what it is. They've had good receivers as long as I can remember, like going back to Hines Ward and, guys like that. But it's crazy that they just keep finding them. It looks like they found him again. Trubisky did nothing. The move to Pickett is the right one, I believe. Someone said, can't remember who said it, but said the line is, he's never seen a throw he doesn't like. He doesn't throw incompletions. He throws incompletions. He throws completions, or he throws interceptions. And, and for fantasy, it's a lot more fun than Mitch Trubisky. We saw there was a highlight from last week's game where Pickens is completely open. Like there's not a player within 15 feet of him, and Trubisky just misses him, and he throws this tantrum on the field. This is a rookie wide receiver, and he knows that he should be getting the ball. And Mitch Trubisky just doesn't even look on that side of the field. Quarterback is maybe the hardest position in professional sports, and maybe Trubisky's a good dude, and I think he's a good athlete, but he is not an NFL quarterback. It's time to move on.
Yeah, for sure. Bills defense, anytime score may not be a bad play here.
Now, do they get White back? I've heard rumors that they'll be getting the cornerback Is it
Yeah,
right?
he could.
Tre'Davious White.
Tre'Davious, yeah. I mean, he's just going to add right to that defense. Is one of the top corners in the league. So, you see some people hanging out. My bad, guys. I didn't keep track of the comment. Everyone's like, Adam Murkamp, football talk on hockey opening day. That's right. The Preds are in action here this afternoon against the Sharks. We have Pete Jensen on Mean Streets today, so we'll talk a little NHL on that show. And of course, I have some props. I've had some shot props in the FTN NHL Bet Tracker for what feels like years. Albert in the house, Devin Singletary, good play this week. I do believe so. Yeah, we're looking at a running back who's getting a big bulk of the snaps, a big bulk of the rushing attempts out of the backfield, and we have a team that's 14-point favorites at home. So if this is if Buffalo's up by 3 or 4 scores in this game, which is very possible, I would say that they lean on Singletary. May even see some Zach Moss, but if you see some Zach Moss, it probably means that Singletary and the Bills had a really good day. Gabe Davis, anytime touchdown. I think he gets one here this weekend. Yep. And then, George Pickens is plus 300. I don't know if I'm totally there yet, but I think he'll get over his 40 receiving yard prop. And then Bills D, I think is pretty interesting for me as well. Let's move on to the next game. What do we have on the docket here? Ty. Chargers and Browns. Okay. Keenan Allen. I don't think he can count on him. I don't think he's going to play. They're going to be conservative with this guy, as they should be. It's been a tough go for him. I know he tried to practice earlier in the week, and then he left again. So things are not going well for him. We had a big Austin Eckler day last week. I wouldn't sell high. I like him to continue to have some success. The Chargers have not been able to stop the run in 2 years. I'm not breaking any news here. Nick Chubb is really good. But Nick Chubb is rushing yard props at 90. I wouldn't be shocked if he had like 100 yards in this game, but there's not a whole lot I like from this contest. I agree with Adam earlier. We haven't been looking at totals. I could lean with the under in that Giants game because I don't think they'll do a whole lot, but the Packers could score. The Packers could get to 30, but I would have a lean to the under. And yeah, Barkley rushing attempts will probably rush like 20 plus times as long as they can, move the chains, right? There's possibilities we could see a lot of 3-and-outs there for the G-men. Do you have anything in this Chargers and Cleveland game that you like that stands out?
Yeah,
pretty good.
I like the odds for Kareem Hunt and anytime touchdown, and I love the ones for David Njoku. The Chargers have been brutal against tight ends. He's been really good the last couple of weeks, kind of like the David Njoku that I think a lot of people thought, including me, were going to get. I think you could do worse. Just the odds that they're giving us for 2 guys anytime touchdowns. I like both of them.
Yeah, we're getting Njoku at plus 195 over at DraftKings. You could probably get a better price, actually. He seems to have the trust of Brissett inside the red zone, plus 280. Plus 280 over at FanDuel for David Njoku. And, excuse me. Yeah, the Chargers against tight ends. Last year they struggled. This year they've had some issues as well covering the tight end position. So a lot of that with the first 2 weeks. I think looking at the statistics with Waller and Kelsey, those are 2 beasts, 2 the best of the best. But Njoku's been pretty good as well. I think the Chargers win this game. What do we have again, Tyler, for a spread? This is a live spread here for sure. I just want to double check. 1.5. I thought that moved just a little bit here. So there's been some live movement, guys. We had these boards from earlier in the week, but there. Prop Shop is your friend. Parlay calculator over at ftnbets.com to get the best possible odds. I'm seeing the Chargers at minus 1.5 over at PointsBet at minus 107. Better than taking them on the money line at minus 130, but I think the Chargers do win this game. Next game, Chicago and Minnesota, I do believe is on that board, Tyler, that we can get to. We have, we'll just go in order of this. So the Bucks and the Falcons. We started to see last week, I guess, Tampa almost at full health. They're now 10-point favorites, 9.5 in some spots. Most books have them at 10. I'm waiting for a coaching change in Atlanta. I'd like to see Desmond Ridder there so, Kyle Pitts can get some targets and Drake London get some targets. The Falcons do not want to throw the football a lot like the Chicago Bears, but they are winning games. So until they start losing games, I don't think we'll see a change at the quarterback position. Things I'm looking for, Kyle Pitts. I'd like to see him get more than 2 catches in a game. I think this will probably be it as their 10-point dogs. They're going to be forced to throw the football. What does the backfield look like without Cordell Patterson? Is it all Tyler Algier? Will it be a little Caleb Huntley, who got some red zone work last week? I don't think either are worthy of starts in your lineups, guys. I think that they are flex plays, and Algier would just be a flex play for me. where are you at with Tampa? Because that's like, I expect we'll see some more pass attempts from Mariota this week.
Yeah, I think they're going to be forced to. I do like Algier for an anytime touchdown just because of the odds. I think he's going to be the guy that they go to first. I'll say that I watched a bit of the game, go back and kind of like watch some of the highlights and watch the condensed version of these games. Caleb Huntley looked pretty good, man. I mean, a guy that I didn't even know his name. And if I don't know your name, that means that I don't know if you really exist in the NFL. But I like the odds for Tyler Algier to get a touchdown in this game. They want to run the ball, right? Atlanta behind or whatever. They want to run the ball.
They do. His I was looking for his receiving yard prop. I couldn't find it last night. It's 8.5. If I could get like a 1.5 catch prop for Algier, I'll probably take it too. So we haven't seen a whole lot from him, obviously, but
No.
He's played 3 NFL games and he has 10 carries in 2 of the 3. You're right. Huntley did look good, and he may be a problem for Algier moving forward. Like he really had a lot of work through, like in the red zone last week. But for Algier, 1 catch, 20 receiving yards, 1 catch, 5 receiving yards. A team that's they're going to be down in this game, right? The Bucs are going to be able to roll offensively. Mike Evans returned last week, had a touchdown. Godwin returned last week, had a bunch of targets. Julio's not doing anything, but those 2 guys alone, you mix in Leonard Fournette, Rachaad White, who is catching balls to the backfield. Tampa should be able to get to, I would say, 30 points in this game. So I would lean with them covering. It's a lot of points, but I don't really trust this Falcons offense. But I'm not having any bets on Pitts. But I think if you have them, I think you play them, like just pure upside alone. If you have a Gerald Everett and Njoku, you could go that way if you want. I have Pitts ranked tight end 11, but I do have him ranked ahead of those guys just barely. Good call on Adam, though, on Gerald Everett. He's been fantastic. You're right, especially as real good. He's a guy that you can consider as an anytime touchdown. There's no question about it. But Algier here at 8.5 receiving yards, I'm kind of in on that. I do like that. On the Tampa Bay side of things, I mean, Fournette rushing attempts, maybe Fournette to score a touchdown. Maybe Brady to bounce back here with a couple passing touchdowns and things like that. I don't think I have too much more to add other than let's see if Kyle Pitts can show up in this football game. That's kind of really it.
Let's just see.
Targets. Do you have any shares? What do? You just roll them out because he's Kyle Pitts? Like if it wasn't Kyle Pitts,
I don't have any
on the waiver wire.
I don't have him on any team. He was just too rich for my blood, man. Unproven. I know that he had a good rookie season for a tight end, but that doesn't say a lot. And just like where he was going, I mean, there's so many players around that position in drafts that I like more and I trust more. I don't have him anywhere. I got, and I stayed away from Kelsey a lot. I got Andrews, or I waited till like the end of the draft and just picked 1 or 2 and hoped. Those teams I'm dead in the water because I'm getting 0 points at the tight end position every week. But
it's possible
places where I have Andrews and do well.
We're able to pick up Everett, or we're able to pick up Higbee and Njoku. Njoku was talked a lot about, and then he had the bad week 1, and then everyone panicked and dropped him. And now it's like, you have yourself, what is a decent tight end. I just want to see actually, like the odds for Tampa to score touchdowns are not going to be great here. In fact, I'm not even seeing any on DK. Yeah, okay. Evans would be the obvious one here. He's minus 105. Godwin's plus 125. That's not bad.
Yeah,
I don't mind that.
He's due, right? Like,
yeah, he was getting some targets. He's historically kind of had his way with the Falcons. It's like they don't really have like a guy that can just like make things happen in the middle of the field. Besides Godwin, like he's clearly that guy for them. Okay, let's move on. What do we have, Tyler? What else? Let's get a more competitive game here. This is not bad here. Jets in Miami. We have the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. We have the odds have changed here slightly again. This game is at MetLife, and you can get 3 points for Miami across the board, actually. Caesars 3.5, but DK, FanDuel, BetMGM, PointsBet, Bet Rivers, all at 3. I like the 3. We're going to see Teddy Bridgewater here under center. Last week, we saw a lot of Teddy to Tyreek when he came in, and I think that's going to continue, right? For a guy who doesn't have a ton of starts here in the league. He's a game manager. He does have a deep ball. He's got a deep ball to him, and we saw it last last week on primetime against the Bengals. He hit it. He threw one to Tyreek deep down the field. We could see a couple shots like that. I like Sauce Gardner. I like this Jets defense. I think they're a lot better than what people kind of let on. I'm going to give the edge to the Dolphins here to win this game. But the Jets have 2 wins, man. Are you feeling them?
Yeah, I mean, Bridgewater looked pretty decent, coming in. I think with the full week of practice with the ones and knowing he's going to be the guy, I think it improves. I really like this Miami team. I really like the offense, the coach. I think the defense is really good. If you can stream them, they're a really good choice this week. The Jets, it's going to depend. Do we get the Wilson from the first 3 quarters last week? They lose. If we get, two quarters of the fourth quarter Wilson, I think they make this game very competitive. The reality is they're loaded at skill positions. Their wide receiver core, if we're all being honest, is maybe one of the best in the NFL. They've got 2 really good young running backs. Now they have 2 decent tight ends, a decent offensive line. And if Wilson can put it all together, he can move. He's not a statue. He can roll out. He's got a good arm. In college, we've seen him make, difficult throws and everything that needs to be done. It's just a confidence thing, I think, and getting a feel for the NFL speed. In the fourth quarter, he looked like he had arrived. But the problem is there was 3 quarters where it looked like he had never played football before. So it's all going to depend on which one of those guys we get.
Yeah. Dolphins have been torched through the air. I just wanted to double check the numbers. The passing yards they've just been absolutely, I've had no answer for anybody so far. What do we got here? Come on. Yeah, 299 passing yards allowed per game, which is number 2 in the NFL. The Bills are actually the best, of course. The Ravens have allowed the most. It's Breece Hall time. Yeah, Breece Hall is taking over this backfield. Saw it live a couple weeks ago at MetLife. He was getting in red zone packages, third down situations. Last week he played 46 snaps to Carter's 31. He ran 26 routes to Carter's 51 or 15. He had 17 carries and Carter had 9, and he also had 6 targets out of the backfield. I like his receiving yard prop at 12.5 receiving yards. I have that in the bet tracker. I also have him for over 2.5 grabs, but I like the receiving yards a little bit more. I don't want to play that game with which Jets wide receiver because you're right.
Good luck.
Good luck. It's been Elijah. Last week it was Elijah, Garrett Wilson, and Davis in terms of snaps and routes, but targets it was Wilson, Davis, and Elijah. And last year there was a rapport with Corey Davis and Zach Wilson, and I think he is the guy maybe most likely to score a touchdown because he's a big body wide receiver. We saw it last week when the game was on the line. He had a red zone target. He converted for a touchdown. He's had a couple touchdowns this year. I think if you're looking for a long shot guy inside this offense to score a touchdown, he would be it. I see Adam saying Conklin. I don't mind the Conklin play either. He's out there running a lot of routes. He's getting a lot of targets. Heading into last week, he played more snaps. He ran more routes than any tight end in the NFL. It was very similar the same way, right? He ran 30 routes, 57 snaps. He only had 5 targets. It wasn't the same as Joe Flacco under center, but for him to be the 4th option last week, there's still maybe a little bit of value there. I would play Raheem Mostert. I would be hesitant to play Chase Edmonds. Raheem Mostert's going to touch the ball, I think, more on the ground, and Edmonds is I don't know. I think a flex play at best. I just feel like this is Edmonds' backfield, at least the lead. They'll use both guys. We're playing Waddle. We're playing Tyreek. I like Tyreek's yards at 77.5. He's just quarterback proof, and I think we saw that last week. Anything else? Who do you think wins the game? Jets or Dolphins?
I think Dolphins. I like the Mostert call. I like him to score. He's got, he's kind of taken over this backfield. And until the almost inevitable injury, that's the guy that you got to go with. Edmonds. I think it was Scott Pianowski said this, that he's got the TD deodorant, so he doesn't smell as bad as he does. But man, if he doesn't score a touchdown, he's giving you nothing.
Yeah. I have a hard time with the Jets wide receivers. I would sell any of them. I think you can get the most for Garrett Wilson. I think it's a bad time to trade Elijah. People still believe in Elijah, and I think he can be fine. It's just Wilson's going to spread it out to all these different guys. I think it's going to be very inconsistent, and I would look to sell off big weeks for any of them. But it is Breece Hall season. Don't drop Michael Carter. He was one of the most dropped backs. Nope. Just have him on your bench. He's the next man up. If anything happens to Breece Hall, you got yourself a running back that's going to touch the ball 20 times. So you can catch out of the backfield. Just it's very important to have running back depth, I think, more so than wide receiver depth. Next game on the docket. What do we got? Okay, some time stamping over here. 30-minute mark. We got Tennessee and Washington. Go ahead, take it away. Unfortunately, no Treylon Burks. Going to miss a little bit of time.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Titans defense playing pretty good. EY.
Yeah, they're starting to, and they're starting to get even the feel on offense is like the first 2 weeks for Derrick Henry. A lot of people, including me, were pretty worried about what was going to happen, and now we're starting to see like the offense flows through Derrick Henry. If Derrick Henry is running the ball and touching the ball often enough, this offense starts to work. It's a slow burn, right? It's not flashy. It's not exciting, it just isn't, what I mean? But what it does is win football games, and Mike Vrabel knows how to coach. He's put this team in a position to win. I mean, almost every game this year, even though they didn't play very well in the first two, they've been in all the games, and now they're starting to really, play Titans football. Washington started hot, Carson Wentz started hot, and now I feel like we're seeing the real Washington Commanders now. I think Tennessee wins this game pretty handily. I like Robert Woods to score here. I mean, I don't think he's athletic or as offensively talented as Treylon Burks, and I think Treylon Burks is going to get more and more responsibilities when he comes back and as the year goes. But Robert Woods is still a very good football player. I think it's somebody that Tannehill is going to look for, and he's going to trust to throw him the ball. And Westbrook-Ikhine is another guy that Tannehill has proven that he trusts again. I don't see any odds on DK for him to score a TD, but I would imagine the odds are really good. I mean, that's a dart throw, but I think it's a good one.
Yeah, I think it's a good one too. Yeah, Robert Woods, he scored a touchdown last week. Say what you want about the knee and the age, but an opportunity here for him to kind of be the guy here while Treylon Burks comes back. A couple things I wanted to note here. Derrick Henry, and I mentioned this with you when the season started. Last year, he played half the season, and he had the most catches per game, receiving yards per games, and targets that he's ever had. And I was in on week 1. I think it was plus money for like 2 grabs, and I was in. I was like, here it is. Like, this is going to be different. I don't trust the wide receivers that the Titans have. I think, we'll see Derrick Henry get more usage out of the backfield, like catching passes, and it just wasn't there. I think Hilliard had a decent week 1. He had like a couple of receiving touchdowns.
Yeah.
But the last 2 weeks, EY, it's there. It's 2 weeks ago, 5 catches, 6 targets, 58 yards. Last week, 5 targets, 3 catches, 33 yards. This week, I'm seeing his receiving yard prop at 12.5. I'm not seeing anything for catches. I think this is something that I've been wanting to see for a while now. Why not?
Yeah. You get that with one screen.
One screen. Give him a screen a game, a screen a half. Try to get him out in open field. Get some blockers out there, and good luck tackling this guy. So
that's right.
I'm in on the 12.5 receiving yards. And what a new added element it could be to his ceiling if this guy catches 25 passes in a season on top of what he does in the ground, right?
Yeah.
So
and it looks like that's going to happen, right? I mean, if the numbers continue, he's going to hit 25 easily.
Absolutely. One guy I wanted to say is Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin has been very inconsistent. I don't think Dotson's going to play. What the Titans have struggled against wide receivers so far this season. They've allowed the 4th most passing yards, 274 per game this season. We had Sterling Shepard in week 1, 71 and a touch. Richie James, I think you mentioned earlier, had 5 catches for 59. Stephon Diggs is a beast, of course, but he had a $148 and 3 touchdowns. Mac Hollins had 8 catches, 158 yards and a touchdown. Alec Pierce last week had 80 yards. So, I think Terry McLaurin will probably, get some yards here in this game. I think his receiving yard prop, just let me double check before we move on from it. Terry McLaurin, because I think I don't know if I'm in on buying low on him, because you're right. It's Carson Wentz. There's inconsistency from McLaurin. People view him as a wide receiver too. He's probably just a 3 or a flex play, but his receiving yard prop is 58.5. That's a little low. And I just want to see where we have him projected. How many yards we have him projected for. We have him 56.5. I think that's a little low too. I think he's into the 60s. It's a receiving yard prop that I like. Adam Reitkamp. It's October. It's Scary Terry week. Yeah, I think so. I'm with you. The Titans win. Like the Woods call. Nick Westbrook-Ikhine, dart throw. I'd be hesitant to start Antonio Gibson. his snaps have declined the past 3 weeks, and now we have potentially Brian Robinson Jr. making his NFL debut. So he may steal some first and second down reps and some goal line reps. I think McKissick keeps his role. Washington's down in the game, 2-minute drill. He gets on the field. Bad stuff for Antonio Gibson moving forward. So Terry, those Titan guys, there was a couple things here. 101.5 is the number this week. What number are we? Maybe I missed a little bit earlier. Every week bet is, what do we got here? Big dog rush plus receiving yards. Oh, Lawan out, so they can't protect when they pass. Yeah, he's for sure, right? The offensive line, there's issues. I think, Eric, you brought it up before, right? When he's out of the lineup, you see a little bit of a different offense. It's not rolling as nicely as it should. Something to keep an eye on. Terry, Adam likes the long reception for Terry at 23.5. Yeah, not bad, right? They are getting beat over the top. I agree. Yep. It is scary Terry week. Okay, move on. What else do we have here? Saints and Seahawks. I think this is too much. 5.5. I don't think the Saints are that good. I think they're a little overrated. I don't know who's playing at the quarterback position. I can't trust Alvin Kamara. You just talked about Geno, all right? Geno is one thing Geno's doing that Russ didn't do last year is he is throwing to his guys. You're seeing targets every week to Lockett and to DK Metcalf. Penny looks good on the ground. I know this is a tough spot. The Saints have a really strong run defense. 5.5 is too much for me. I'm on Seattle at 5.5. I think they cover.
The Seattle situation, it's just bizarro. This has happened before. They played Matt Flynn all that money, and they're talking about how great he is, and this, that, and the other. And then Russell Wilson gets drafted. This short quarterback player, baseball player that nobody was really talking about. And all of a sudden, Russell Wilson was the starter. They paid Matt Flynn all this money. Here we go in the offseason. Drew Lock would be drafted number 1 overall if he was in this draft. He's such an unbelievable player. He's an unbelievable athlete. What a great quarterback. Boom. Geno Smith is the starter. And it's cool to see because I think it's Pete Carroll and the staff just saying, look, Geno Smith, money, this, that, whatever, past, present, money, it doesn't matter. It's Geno Smith that gives us the best chance to win, and he's playing. And he's playing unbelievable. He's making me my words. I said the Seattle quarterback room was maybe the worst in the NFL, tied with Pittsburgh. And Geno Smith, especially for fantasy football, has been unbelievable.
Yeah, yes. He's been really good. And one guy that we talked a lot about last week was Chris Olave. We called him for an anytime touchdown at plus 295, I believe, and he scored a touchdown, I think, in the first or second series of that game last week. It does sound like Michael Thomas may return this week, but Chris Olave in a pretty good spot because Seattle has given up a ton of passing yards so far, 274 to start the season. At wide receivers, they're inside the top 12 here in receiving yards to wide receivers. We had a Judy had a 100-yard game. Josh Reynolds last week had an 81-yard game. These are guys like Tom Kennedy and Josh Reynolds are torching you for $140. Like that's, Zacchaeus 49, Brandon Ayuk hasn't done a whole lot this year. He gets 63, 64. So I think Olave, he's number 1 in the NFL in air yards. He's got a high ADOT, one of the highest in the NFL as well. I think he's also, whether it's Dalton, whether it's Jameis, I think he's good for 3 or 4, deep shots. And because he's going to get those deep shots, maybe he can come down with 1 or 2. I take the over on his receiving yards at 63.5. Yeah, Geno Smith, man, he's been pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. He's back-to-back 300-yard games, back-to-back games with 2 passing touchdowns. He's got at least two passing touchdowns in 3 of his 4. Again, that's more than Russell Wilson can say, for certain this year. And one thing that about him too is he's kind of sneaky on the ground.
Like, he's got some rushing yards too, right?
Yeah, I mean, it was 6 for 14 week 1, not much. But last week I noticed he ran a bit, just double-checking, 7 for 49. So he's... Yep. I don't know, man. You could do worse as your second quarterback in a super flex league than Geno Smith.
I would trade Russell Wilson and something for Geno Smith right now. Think about what I just said out loud. It's insane. It's insane.
We might have to clip that, Tyler. It is insane. EY is on the bats today. All right, I think Seattle keeps it close. That's it. Kamara not touching him. Thomas not touching him. Olave. what do we rolled through? I think we went out of order. We already did Buffalo Bills. So we got a few more here we could rapid fire through. I actually don't have much to say about the Panthers or the 49ers. I think the 49ers win by a touchdown. I like the under in that game. I think it's at 39.5. Carolina showed us nothing offensively. And the Niners have been a juggernaut.
They're disgusting.
They only allow 161 passing yards per game. Only the Bills lower. Football DVOA, Football Outsiders, they're one of the best defenses against the run, against the pass. CMC's just, he's had some moments, but some of them I feel like have been through the air. DJ Moore can't get on the same page. I can't see them scoring a lot of points. And I like Deebo Samuel. His receiving yard prop sitting at 55.5. His catch prop is sitting at 4.5. And just, we talked about Jimmy G, right? Say what you want about Jimmy G. He wins games. He gets the ball to his superstar. And Deebo Samuel in the first two games with Trey Lance, 2 for 14, 5 for 44. Last week, 6 for $115, and the week before against Denver, 5 for 73. I just know that there's going to be. Oh, where did he go? Where did Eli go? He's gone. He can't. Oh, there he's.
I returned. Sorry, boys. Technical difficulties.
So you know that Deebo's going to get 1 or 2 screen passes. He's so explosive after the catch. So that's really the only prop I like in this game. Maybe Jeff Wilson, Jeff Wilson rushing yard, Jeff Wilson score. Wilson,
I like Jeff Wilson. He looked really good last week.
They're going to run the rock, right? They're going to rely on the defense and run the rock. Those are the two guys for me, and that's kind of it. I don't think I have anything else to add. Panthers
coaching staff is inept. Baker Mayfield is disgusting. I mean, it's unwatchable, man. It's just unwatchable with all, like, Christian McCaffrey is one of the best players in the NFL, and Baker Mayfield and Matt Rule are just sucking the life out of him. I think it gets right. It wouldn't surprise me. I don't think it happens this week, but it wouldn't surprise me if they go to Darnold here, and they need to. I mean, I know that, again, saying that out loud is insane, but Baker Mayfield is awful. He is awful, rattled, no confidence, whipping the ball into the offensive line and the defensive line. Like, throw the ball to the people that are going to do something with it. It's as simple as that. You got DJ Moore. You've got, Lavish Shenault, when he had a couple of grabs, like, did something with it. Christian McCaffrey, like I said, is maybe the most talented player in the NFL, and he's just not touching the ball enough. It's disgusting to watch, man. It's gross.
It is gross. Yeah. San Fran wins. Yep. You can consider him as a survivor if you want. I know road team, West Coast going over early, it's tough, but I would consider, if you haven't used Green Bay, if you didn't use them last week, I think Green Bay or Buffalo, those are kind of two survivor teams I'm looking at. All right, next up, what do we got? Let's try to get through this. Jacksonville and Houston's interesting to me. I think we'll see a bounce back from Robinson. The Texans haven't been able to stop the run. I think you can start ETN as a flex, but don't worry about Robinson. I think he bounces back here. Christian Kirk, same thing. Been hammering his receiving yard prop every single week, and he's hitting every single week. And last week was it didn't look like we were going to get there, but it was a sloppy game, a lot of rain. He had a lot of drops. He had 9 targets. He's had at least 9 targets in 3 of his 4 games. He owns a healthy 27% target share. He's had a lot of catches of 20-plus yards down the field. He's got 327 yards here through 4 games of the season. So I think he can go back to Kirk. He's actually one of my favorite plays this week. And that's kind of it. Like, I'm still looking for Nico Collins. I do have Dameon Pierce over 2.5 grabs at plus 140 in the bet tracker. He had 6 grabs last week. I think we'll start to see him be more involved. Earlier was obviously the first game was Rex Burkhead. You're a rookie, Rex Burkhead. Then it's been all Pierce dominating all the carries. But at the same time, it was like Burkhead was getting on in third down situations and 2-minute drill. And then last week, I noticed that Pierce was getting a little bit more run that way. So I'll be looking at Cooks. You play Cooks. Nico Collins, I think, should be rostered. It could be a game where he continues to trend upward. Pierce gets some touches. 7 points is a lot, but I do believe Jacksonville, will win this game.
Yeah, me too. I think Trevor Lawrence steps back into being a better quarterback. Last week, a couple bad tosses, a couple, weird drops from receivers. Didn't have Zay Jones. I don't know if Zay Jones is going to play this week, but Trevor Lawrence is going to get better every time you see him. I believe that. I think that's been the case, except for last week. Every week he's been better. And sticking with a team like Philly, like I know that they won, but still, like Jacksonville was still kind of hung around. That's got to do something for your confidence, even in the rain. That many interceptions, it doesn't matter. They still had a chance to do something in that game. And I think this week against the Texans, he steps up in a big way.
Yeah, 7 just seems like a lot. I know Jacksonville's playing really good. Their defense is playing great. They're creating turnovers. They're getting interceptions and getting some sacks. I don't know. I just feel like this could be a little bit closer. But I think, yeah, you could play Trevor Lawrence. Like if you've been playing him and he burned you last week, I think you can go back to him. Albert says Zay Jones, a nice sleeper. Yeah, I really do like Zay Jones. He was just an inactive last week. He was dealing with an ankle injury, I do believe. I think if he returns, I don't know. Like I don't know if I'm playing him in like standard 12 team leagues. I wouldn't want him to be my wide receiver 3 or flex guy this week, but I think he should be rostered. We've had a little bit 65 yards, 6 grabs in week 1, and then week 3 had 10 grabs for 85 yards and a touchdown. Like I'd say he's the number 2 option in this offense. It's not Marvin Jones. He's definitely the number 2. So I think he could be an interesting sleeper, Albert. I'll say that. And in a deeper league, or you're looking for a receiving yard prop in that game or a same game parlay,
bye weeks are coming, everybody. They're coming.
Yeah, bye weeks are coming, right? Jacksonville, like the offense looks decent. Doug Peterson has them playing, so it's pretty solid there. One thing I want to say before we get out, we will finish up the final 2 games. I want to touch on Dallas before we say goodbye to Game Plus Network. This is another game where I think the Cowboys will cover. I mentioned earlier the 5.5 with Seattle. This is probably one of my favorite spreads of the week. The Cowboys to cover this game, and I think that they could win just outright. This Dallas defense is creating turnovers. They're getting pressure on the quarterback. We just saw Matthew Stafford have another game with a pick, getting sacked left, right, and center. They're clearly missing Whitworth. Their center goes down last week. Stafford doesn't have any time in the pocket. Dallas is, running the ball really nice here with Cooper Rush. He's undefeated, not just this year, dating back to last year. He hasn't had a loss. And just taking a look at some of our numbers, advanced tools over at ftnfantasy.com, I was taking a look at defenses versus rush and seeing some of the things that the Cowboys have been able to do this year and against the pass, actually. So yards per attempt overall in the NFL, the Eagles only allow 5.38. That's number 1. Dallas is number 2 at 5.47. How about time to throw? Dallas inside the top 10, getting pressure off the quarterback. And this is the stat I was really looking at here. Time until the quarterback is pressured, 2.39, which is the second quickest. Again, the Eagles are number 1. And then another statistic that we have here, part of our package, ftnfantasy.com, never too late. A lot of tools, guys. You can get lost for days in this stuff. This one here is passer rating against Dallas, number 3, Buffalo, number 1, Philly, number 2, and Dallas, number 3. This is a really good defense. Yep. Parsons is a game changer.
Dude,
they're winning football games because of their defense. 5.5 is too much. I think the boys keep it close.
If he stays healthy, he could end up being maybe one of, if not the best defensive player to ever play. Like he lines up.
It's a stretch either. Yeah.
He lines up everywhere, right? He's not just playing one position. He's kind of all over the place. It's impossible to game plan from him because you never know where he's going to be coming from. Right side, left side. He's got his hand down. He's standing. He's in the middle of the field. He's dropping back. I mean, the guy's an absolute freak. He can do everything, man. I love watching that guy play defense.
We'll say goodbye. Don't start Akers. Don't start Robinson. Keep them on your roster. Don't even start Henderson. I think there's better options out there. I would be starting Higbee. You're obviously starting Cooper Kupp. Let's see if Allen Robinson gets a little bit more love. You're starting CD. And Michael Gallup, make sure he's on. Maybe you don't need to start this guy, but an opportunity to buy low on him and Dalton Schultz, I think, before they really get going, and maybe Dak returns next week against the Eagles. We'll say goodbye for now. Game Plus, appreciate you. Good luck. All the picks are inside the bet tracker, ftnbets.com. Have a great weekend. I'll touch with you guys on Tuesday. Easy for me to say. Cheers. Okay, let's wrap up here. EY. Tyler, let's throw that up. We'll just rapid fire through these last couple games. We want to get through them. I think we've done them all really here now. Just Arizona, Philly, Baltimore, Cincinnati, and Kansas City, and Las Vegas. So potentially the 3 highest scoring games of the week. The Cardinals have struggled offensively. There's no question. There seems to be a disconnect between Cliff Kingsbury and Kyler Murray. They're starting off games very, very slow. The Eagles have not trailed in the second half yet. They've run the ball really, really. I mean, they can beat you through the air. They've shown that they can beat you through the air with Jalen Hurts and Devontae and A.J. Brown. They've shown you that they can win with defense. And then last week when the conditions were brutal, they showed you that they could run all over you. And that's what they did last week with Miles Sanders. I like Miles Sanders over his rushing yard prop at 66.5. He's cleared this in 3 of the 4 games. And last year when he came back from the injury, it was all Miles Sanders, and he was really, really good for this offense. I think that he continues to have some success. AJ's been a beast as well. He's the only player in the NFL with 5+ grabs and I think 60+ receiving yards. He has a really plus matchup according to our wide receiver cornerback matchup tool. It's a top 10 matchup for him this week as well. Adam's saying Dallas Goedert week. It could be fun. Zach Ertz revenge. I think Zach Ertz may have some decent showings, a couple nice grabs here and there because Darius Slay is going to be all over Hollywood Brown. So it may be a lot of Zach Ertz there, but is this the game? Maybe the Eagles lose. You think they're going to lose one, but they'll lose one.
Not going to lose this one. Arizona is looked just kind of out of sorts, right? Kyler Murray's theory, one of my favorite guys to watch. Like he's scrambling around, he's kind of making things happen. He's wild to watch. But there's like you said, there's some kind of a weird disconnect. Kingsbury coming into the NFL was supposed to be this offensive genius, and having look, they don't have DeAndre Hopkins. They don't have AJ Green. Greg Dortch was their number 1 receiver. That is over. If you have him, you can probably drop him and move on. Rondell Moore played a bunch, but wasn't really utilized. I think it is an Ertz game. I think Connor could score here. I think Arizona will try to run the ball, especially when they get inside that red zone. They've always kind of done that. Even as an air raid offense, that's something that Kingsbury has always done. But the Philadelphia Eagles are just dangerous on both sides of the ball. Have impact players all over the field on both sides of the ball, and they continue to be undefeated.
Yeah, Adam brings up a good point. Play tight ends against Arizona. That's been the case, I think, for 5 or 6 years until they drafted Simmons, and then it helped out a little bit defensively. But some of those numbers are a little skewed this year just because of the tight ends that they started. I believe they started, was it week 1 against Kelsey? Yeah, like Kelsey, 8, 121 and a touchdown. Darren Waller, 50 and a touchdown. But yeah, I mean, this is a team that's never been able to cover the tight end. It's been years. They've always struggled against the tight end. I don't know what it is, but yeah, we could see Goddard. Goddard's a nice little sneaky touchdown call, but I do think Miles Sanders will have another good one. Of course, George. Of course, EY picks Connor to score. This one's James, not Kyle. Last 2 games. We gotta move on here. What's the last 2, Tyler? Baltimore and Cincy. Man, the Ravens are really, I know they kind of held Josh Allen in check last week, but they've given up more passing yards than any team in the NFL.
Yeah, they're not good.
They really struggled. I know they have some issues, injury wise last year, and this year's kind of some of it's carried over. But last year we saw over 900 passing yards from Joe Burrow in the 2 games against the Ravens. I think this one goes over the 48. Lamar has had a history of running all over Cincinnati and having his way. Andrews, Bateman, Higbee, a Jamar Chase rebound. Mixon is still getting he's got more opportunities. That's carries plus targets than any running back in the NFL. He's tied with Saquon with touches. He just hasn't been efficient. I roll him out. Don't worry. Just play him. Touchdowns I think will come. I think we'll see a lot of points. This should be a fun game. I think we'll see a lot of offense in this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun game. Lamar Jackson's unreal. Just such a superstar player. Hoping that Rashard Bateman shows back up. I think that Cincinnati has shown that they're going to score, and the Baltimore Ravens can keep pace. I think Bateman shows back up. Hopefully J.K. Dobbins continues, this kind of progression. He's been really good. Gus Edwards is on his way back. He's not playing this week, but he's close from what I understand. Baltimore getting back to being able to run the ball and threaten that way, and that makes Lamar Jackson even more dangerous. Burrow's just cool. Great wide receivers in Higgins and Chase. If you drafted Higgins, like where you got him, you've been laughing right all the way to the bank. This is going to be the game. This is going to be the game of the week. It's going to be really fun.
Those guys should have been side by side in draft. There's no reason for Chase to go as wide receiver 3 and T Higgins to go as wide receiver 11 or 12. Like there was just really no reason. Higgins more targets per game. We're seeing it too. His receiving yard prop is, I think I called him Higbee earlier. It's could be a fun same game parlay. Like Andrews yards, maybe a touchdown Lamar rushing yards. Higbee's at 4.5 grabs, 67 receiving yards. I'd get in on that. I'd rather chase yards than catches, but Higbee, I feel really comfortable with him getting like 5 or 6 grabs in there as well. There was a question: Gabe Davis or Dubs? That's a really good question. We talked about Dubs earlier as a guy who has had the trust of Aaron Rodgers over the past couple weeks, back-to-back
seems like the real deal.
A+ targets. You know what? I think I would go Dubs there. I like Gabe Davis as like a potential bounce back. They're 14-point favorites, but they could be up big. They can run the rock with a bunch of different guys. I would hold on to Gabe Davis. I would buy low where you can. It does sound like okay, this is new. This is all news to me. Like, reports are coming in now as we're going. Did I see there's no Dawson Knox and there's no Isaiah McKenzie? If that's the case, then you need to play Gabe Davis, right? As a guy who's playing more snaps, running more routes and digs. Those are all of a sudden the two guys right there. Likely not with a concussion. So that answers, I think, bless and breaks. I would go with Gabe Davis there. But you got a good one in Dubs, right? You really do. But keep an eye on that, and keep an eye on Mika Fitzpatrick as well, injury related, as Adam checks in. So there's a lot there. I would start the Buffalo defense over the Eagles defense this week. Rookie quarterback, just a vicious defense, in Buffalo, right? They'll probably force some turnovers. I don't think you can go wrong with either one. Keep an eye on all that stuff, guys. Again, Friday's a big day. If there's no McKenzie, there's no Knox, I would go with Gabe Davis. I kind of leaned him anyways as my initial gut. I think Dobbs actually may be safer. And then one final game to touch on is just the Chiefs and the Raiders. We'll have a big breakdown on Monday on Mean Streets. We'll dive into this. I got a couple picks in the tracker already. Over receiving yards on Kelsey, over receiving yards on Devontae Adams. I have the over in this game. I think we'll see both teams combine for 52, 53 points in this game. The Raiders haven't been able to stop anybody. Nobody's really been able to stop the Chiefs. They had that hiccup against the Colts. I still can't believe, watching that game last night, that the Colts found a way to beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs got in their way. There was a lot of just weirdness in that game, and turnovers and missed field goals and things like that. But I think that Kansas City has their way and they score some points. Darren Waller bounce back. I think we'll see just a lot of offense in that game. That should be a fun primetime game.
Yeah, that'll be a real good game. Nice for two offenses to be playing in primetime. Josh Jacobs has surprised everybody.
He's good, man. He's a good back.
Remember
the ball.
The drum beats in the offseason, like, Zamir White, he's going to take a bunch of catches, and Amir Abdullah is going to play, and this, that, and the other. And here he is touching the ball 30-something times. And he's really good, man. It's just a great athlete. He's got that shiftiness, explosion. He can catch, he can do everything. And finally, the Raiders are giving him an opportunity to show that. So that's cool, man. This game is going to be unbelievable. Man, the Raiders should be better than they are. I don't know what's going on there, but I think Kansas City still wins. But this could be a bounce back for the Raiders, man. I don't know.
Yeah, +7 Raiders. I'm in on the +7. I think they hang. Division game, I think they kind of hang around here. Maybe they build on something last week. It could be a couple different things, right? It's a new head coach, a new system. It takes some time for some of these guys. But the defense is pretty bad. Like, Kansas City should be able to score. I mean, they just put up almost like 50 points against the Bucs, so they'll probably score 3 or 4 touchdowns. Let's get the questions before we get out of here. Sean Pitts is a question mark. Tunyon, Hunter, Henry, Conklin, all a waiver. Problem is Tunyon is the London game. Yeah. So I would, yikes. I would probably wait it out for Pitts and then go Conklin if you can. Tunyon's that early game, so that's tough there. Just bet Travis Kelce touchdown every week. Yeah, for sure. He scores in the yards there as well. And then legacy, would you start Dobbins, Kamara, Pierce, or Singletary? Yeah, you got some options there. I would be starting. I think I would start Singletary. Just hearing all this news when these Buffalo Bills are all hurt and they're 14-point favorites, I think I roll him out. Do you play Kamara? I mean,
I can't trust him right now.
It would pain you if you didn't. If you didn't play him and he went off, what a joke that would be.
Your point, like, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense is obviously much improved, but Pierce is kind of like slowly rustling away. The kind of the workhorse role there. That's somebody I like. And Dobbins, man, look, he looked pretty good last week. I think there's going to be tons of points in this. The alternatives there, other than Dobbins, are non-existent. So I feel like he's going to play a bunch. So I think for me, it'd probably be Dobbins and Singletary.
Yeah. I have a hard time setting Kamara, but I get it. I think I would go
I get
Singletary
it
and
too.
Kamara, but yeah, I think you actually have some pretty good options. I think all four of those guys are kind of crammed in together. You should
That's the
get touches
problem,
from
right?
all of them, anyways.
He's got to
Yeah, that is the
choose.
problem. He's got to choose. We may have confused him. Should we break
Sorry,
the
man.
tie in the projections? We got Kamara. Look at this. Kamara, we have Kamara projected for 14.7. We have Pierce projected for 14.6. We have Singletary projected for 13.6. And then we have Dobbins actually just behind those guys. So maybe Ratcliffe this is powered by Ratcliffe, the number one ranker in the game last year. Maybe he's still a little conservative when it comes to Dobbins in the knee. He's projected by 12.4. So if you're going by this, it's Kamara and Pierce. And I think I kind of lean Kamara and Singletary, but we'll see. Good luck with that decision, Legacy. Hopefully we helped you out. EY, always a pleasure, dude. Thanks for doing this on the road. Good luck to your Preds this weekend. And next week, we will be recapping Monday Night Football, helping you guys with your waiver wire stuff, an early look at the Thursday Night Football game, another barn burner. I think we have the Commanders and the Bears, so buckle up for that one. And then we will have Dangle Batselli, the return on Tuesday. 2 games on the ice on Tuesday, but we will preview the Wednesday games as well. So we should have some lines and some shot props. We'll call some goals for you guys. So it's exciting times to be a sports fan here in October. Thank you, Tyler, for running the show, George for the graphics, myself, Chris Meaney, Eric Young, all you guys hanging out with us. We appreciate you guys. Good luck this week in the NFL, and we'll talk to you next week. Cheers.